George Weah is the president of Liberia, and George Weah is a former football player. He's actually one of the best football players that have ever graced the African soil. He, took several awards. He did marvelously well as a footballer. And years after his football career, after he retired, he decided to use his influence, his popularity, his education to better the lives of Liberians, and he contested for president and he won. So right now he's the president of Liberia. But there's a certain controversy that's going on right now, which is the fact that his son Timothy Weah is actually playing for the American national team. So this is George Weah, who is the president of Liberia, who is an African, but his son is playing for the American national team in the World Cup. So this raised a lot of eyebrows. Many people are so angry. Why would you, who is the president, allow your son to be playing for the American national team? It's not right. It's not fair. It's not pro-African. There's a lot of talk about the whole thing. But George Weah is very, 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 very nonchalant about the whole thing. He's in Qatar enjoying the World Cup with his son. America qualified for the knockout stages. He was there cheering his son up. He's literally happy, supporting his son throughout the competition, supporting him, in everything, going to the field, watching the matches. He's so proud of his son, proud of the fact that his son is in the American national team. He's proud of the fact that his son is even participating in the World Cup as a player for the American national team. Now, some Africans, not everybody, some Africans are angry, some Liberians are angry, and they're like, this is not right. Your son should not be playing for America. Your son should be playing for Liberia. Why is he playing for a country in the West, which is not even an African country, which is not even Liberia, which is the country of whose president you are? So, there's a lot of talk going on about this situation. But guys, what do you think about this? Do you think that George Weah what do you think he should have done? That he should have restricted his son from participating in the World Cup because he's the president of Liberia? Now, this is what I personally think. First of all, Liberia is not even the World Cup right now. So this boy, Timothy, he was born in America to George Weah, and his mom is a Jamaican. His father, George Weah, had him with his mother when he was a football player, and he was born in America. So, of course, he's American by naturalization. Now, for you to be American by naturalization, you have the right, he has the right to choose where he wants to play. If he was called by the American national team to play and he agreed to play for the American national team, it should not be a call for concern because he has freedom to do what he wants to do. And, of course, if you ask me, I think he made the right choice. Because in the football world, Liberia is not as renowned. Liberia is not very powerful in the football world. Okay, now the World Cup is going on. Liberia is not in the World Cup. So if he chose to play Liberia, for example, we might have never had the chance to see his talents, because he might have never had the chance to play on such an international platform like the World Cup, because Liberia is not in the World Cup right now, and how many chances does he think he's going to ever have to play in the World Cup? So if he was playing in Liberia, for example, we would not even have known that he was a footballer, perhaps. And let's also take into consideration the environment in these different places, the football environment. I feel like Africans a lot of times are just emotional about these things, but they are not being logical about it. The Federation of Football in Liberia and the Federation of Football in America, of course, they are worlds apart. Now, it's okay for you to be patriotic enough to want to play your country, and it's okay for you to be patriotic enough to want to play in the country in which you were born, to play where you feel the most affiliated to. This boy was born in America, he's cool in America, he has lived all his life in America. So he's more American than Liberian, if we are being honest. If we are talking about culture, he's more American than Liberian because that's where he has spent most of his life. What me personally I feel like is not good or should not be encouraged is the fact that people or Africans or blacks of African descent in other countries who forget their home countries, who literally just move on. Like you go to America, you're playing America, you never want to go back to Liberia, you never want to do any form of, you never want to get in touch with Liberia. I feel like that's where there's a problem, because I feel like as an African, you should want to know where you're coming from. And no matter where you go, you should always remember where you're coming from and should be able to always want to build where you're coming from. But I don't think there's anything wrong in you serving in this country, building, and then coming back home to build your community, or working here and getting money from here to come back home and build your community. I don't think there's anything wrong in that. What I think is wrong is if you go there, if you go to America, if you live in America and you never want to have anything to do with your home country, you never want to go back to see your family, you never want to go back to support the community, you never want to give back, I feel like that's where there's a problem, because you should be encouraged to do so if you have been privileged or blessed, or if you have gotten yourself a certain level of enlightenment and success from living and working in another country. Then I think it should be something that is in your heart to come back and make other people in your country to have, if not as much or more exposure, but at least input their growth as much as you can, instead of just abandoning home. That's what I think is wrong. But for you to work in another country, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Besides Timothy Weah, another person who is having, who is creating this kind of conversation is Embolo, Bril Embolo, who is a Cameroonian who plays in Switzerland. For Bril Embolo, he was actually born in Cameroon to a Cameroonian father and to Cameroonian parents, Cameroonian father, Cameroonian mother. And when he was like 5 years old, his mother traveled with him to France. Then she met her Switzerland lover who took her to Switzerland. They got married. So from then, Embolo has grown in Switzerland. So he actually had the opportunity to join either the Cameroonian national team or the Switzerland national team, and he chose the Switzerland national team. He came out in an interview and said he felt when that choice, when he had the option to make a choice from those two countries, it was very, very emotional for him, because he has always kept in touch with Cameroon. He always comes back home, like he makes sure that at least twice every year he's in Cameroon. He's always in touch with his family. He actually has a foundation where he helps kids in Cameroon. He's doing a lot in the country, so it was hard for him to make a choice. But he chose Switzerland, of course, for reasons best known to him. But for me, who is an outsider looking at the situation, I can easily say that he chose Switzerland because, first of all, their football federation is more organized. The paycheck is even better, So, of course, which is okay, he has the right to make a choice. There are other players who chose to play for Cameroon. Choupo-Moting was in the same situation where he chose to play for Cameroon. We have a lot. Joel Matip was in the same situation where he chose to play for Cameroon. And now Joel Matip no longer plays for Cameroon, because when he chose to play for Cameroon because he loved the country, he came here and he felt disrespected just because of the politics and discrimination and corruption that was in the federation, and he left, and he has never agreed to come back to play for Cameroon again. So we see these things happening every day. So I feel like everybody should be allowed to make the choice that they want to make. If you want to play, then fine. But the only thing I'll say is that wherever you are, don't forget where you come from. So even if you're playing there, even if you're working there, always make sure to come back home and to, grow people here, elevate the community, just do your own part to make sure that people are, just touch lives the way you can. Just, that's my own opinion. So let me know what you think, and you'll see me next time for another fresh news story from this part of the world.